Welcome to our presentation for effective customer communication, integrating Statuspage with Jira Service Management. During this session, we will learn the different integration options available to you that bring together Atlassian Statuspage and Jira Service Management. In order to get the most from this session, a basic level understanding of Statuspage and Jira Service Management is helpful, but even if you're familiar with one and not the other, I think you'll find this session helpful to understand the benefits of end-user communication as a critical success factor to your incident response and change management practices. Before we get moving, let me take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Kevin Patterson. I'm Principal Consultant at Detroit ESM Solutions, a Silver Atlassian partner. In my role, I spend a great deal of time with Atlassian customers helping plan and implement their enterprise service management, IT service management, and DevOps use cases on the Atlassian Cloud Platform. Today, I'll be taking you on a little journey of how integrating Statuspage and Jira Service Management can help elevate your customer experience with more effective communications. So, what are the benefits of integrating these two solutions? I really see it coming down to four key areas. The first and easiest to quantify is the faster notification. Of the ones I've listed here, this one is the one that's easiest to measure. In addition to getting the notification to the user community faster, this has the added benefit of freeing up valuable time from your incident manager or other technical resources that are responsible for manually notifying users through channels about the issue. The second is trust and rapport. So all impacts, both active incidents with follow-up postmortem and upcoming maintenance scheduling is a great way to show transparency and help establish that trust and rapport with your end users. So that's a key benefit of the integration here. The next is confidence and credibility. Now, on the back end, different teams might be responsible for different services. Each team is free to have their own way of working that serves them best. But when it comes to notifying users of impact to the application, all teams should be aligned. Having an integration that is rule-based ensures that a status page incident or maintenance notification is created automatically, ensuring consistency across all these teams. And lastly, it standardizes communications. You're going to start speaking with consistency, which is a good practice for all end users when it comes to have the same voice. So think about it this way. If I've got 30, 50, or 100 agents, each one using Statuspage might communicate a bit differently. If we use an integration, there's a potential where we communicate everything in one voice, the voice of the company, and I'll be showing you how that works in our examples today. So, I realize that not everyone attending our session today is starting from the same place. Some may be just starting out with Statuspage, and others may have had Statuspage for a few years and are just really getting started with Jira Service Management. No matter where you are on your journey, it's likely you're going to find yourself in one of these categories I've listed here: crawling, walking, or running. We'll discuss these three categories a bit deeper in the next few slides, but at a high level, think of crawling as just getting started with incident comms in Statuspage. Walking is beginning with a kind of a loose integration between Statuspage and Jira Service Management, and running is that really tight integration that operates invisibly behind the scenes and providing a better user experience for both agents and the end users alike. So let's talk about crawling. Everyone has to start somewhere, and if you're new to Statuspage, or maybe you're just considering purchasing Statuspage to start your customer comms or kick it up a notch, this is probably where you're going to see yourself. You're kind of starting out by deploying Statuspage. You've maybe set up a few of the options for notifying users in their channels, giving them that option to subscribe via email, SMS, Slack, or Teams, or wherever they might want to be. See, that's kind of where you get started with this journey. You kind of get these things set up within Statuspage. Now, there is some friction here with the crawling category. It's the swivel chair syndrome, right? So you're working your incident in the incident management solution like JSM, and now you've got to change context, and you've got to open up your Statuspage window and either copy and paste or handwrite a status message for your user community. Again, takes time and not really ideal, but again, we're just getting started at this phase. At this phase, when I work with my customers, this is where we start bringing up concepts like templates. being able to have communication templates that are predefined that can really speed up the logging of a status page incident. If you're interested, I've actually linked some status page best practices from Atlassian on the bottom of the screen. Feel free to scan that and get a look at the guide. It's got some great information to get you all going. Now, we talked about it. Let's take a look at what crawling actually looks like in a quick demo here. So here we see a issue logged in JSM. It's a incident record that we're going through where people are having issues with the billing system. I'm going to make that a major incident, and we're going to go through, and now we're going to talk about communicating this to our end users. So I'm going over to my status page. I'm going to select the proper page. I'm going to go through and create an incident, and I'm going to go ahead and take that information that I had from Jira Service Management, and I'm going to log the status page incident. Again, at the crawling phase, this is all a manual process. I'm either hand typing or copying and pasting from the incident record in JSM over to status page. Not ideal, but it's a good way to get going with incident comms. Now, one of the burdens and problems I see with this is that ability to make typos or misspell words. You're representing the company here, so you really want to make sure this is fit for purpose and well written. And depending on who the agent is, some might be better than others. So that's one of my first problems with the manual response here is that you really want to make sure everyone knows that it is something we need to take additional time with to make sure that it is done properly. Here you see me categorize this as a major outage. Again, I'm going through step by step and submitting it and going through and updates, and everything I do in status page is going to be done on the screen, and we'll see what the user sees by going to the user view of the status page. Again, not ideal, it's all manual, but it's a great way to get started, and that's what crawling is going to look like. So let's talk about how I can get you from crawling over to walking, and this really can be a painless journey. For those that are interested in progressing beyond crawling, walking is the next goal. At this step of the journey, we're going to start with the basics of an integration between Jira Service Management and Status Page. Now, currently there are 2 apps available from Atlassian, each handling a different area of the integration. We'll take a look at the capabilities of both of these apps in a few minutes, but for now, let's discuss the benefits. So we'll start with the app found in the status page admin portal I've linked to right here on the screen. When added, this integration will add a status page widget on your issue layout screen for the incidents. Here, JSM agents will have the ability to create and link status page incidents to a JSM record directly. Now, in order to install this app, you're going to need to be an admin of Status Page and have access to a valid Jira Service Management license. And both Status Page and Jira Service Management licenses need to be on the same site. So I've linked this community article here that's going to help you with that. So in case you run into any problems, that's a good place to go to download and view the information to get this all set up. Also, if you are planning to enable this integration from Atlassian, highly encourage you to train your agents and give them some wins and hows to use this widget because training is important. So I'll talk about why later, but make sure you go through the training on that. Now, next, if you guys are using the Help Center for Customer Portal, and if you're not, we should probably have a talk after this meeting. You'll want to install and configure the status page for Jira Service Management app found in the Atlassian Marketplace. This app will automatically post status page open incidents, degraded components, and even maintenance schedules at the top of your project's Help Center. I've also linked a link to that app right here at the bottom of your screen to get you started. So we've talked a bit about it. Let's take a look at what walking actually looks like. So again, same thing. We're going to be working out of a JSM incident record. I'm going to go over here and start working on the incident as I would any other day. But I want you to notice that the widget on the screen here, on the right side, we see a status page widget. That is coming from that Atlassian integration. So here it's going to give me pretty much those same features we saw on the log incident screen and status page on the right side of my screen here. So I can go through and click the appropriate values. Again, I'm having a duplicate effort, right? So I've already got this information on the issue. I'm having to copy and paste or to kind of rewrite some of these things here. So it is a bit of duplication of work. That said, it's a much better experience than crawling because I'm able to do this all in the same context on the same screen. I'm not losing valuable time, aside from the time it takes me to manually reduce some of these steps. Now, if I hit create, that's going to go through and create that status page record. I see details here. I can even interact with this a little bit too and actually do a few other things. Perhaps I want to go through and update the status or just view it in the Help Center. I can go and do that here. And notice we see in my Help Center, that status page issue is here. That's that second integration I was telling you about that's available through the marketplace in Atlassian, is the ability to do that. So again, this is that first level kind of integration. We're talking about the walk and going through and getting this done. Now, if we look back at the record in Jira Service Management, again, we'll go through and we'll walk through the statuses here. Just remember that you've got to go back and edit the status as you're going through so the customer knows about it. It's not going to be made aware of that. It will be manual. But again, it's a good start when it comes to integration. This will kind of get you that next level up. Just like before, when you're communicating, make sure you're dotting all your I's and crossing all your T's. You want to put that best foot forward as you're communicating with your end user audience. And just like that, I've gone through and updated my existing status page incident right from the screen. Now I'm hitting view all issues here because I want to show you this might be something to be aware of. Notice when I hit that, it brings me into the license view of status page. We'll talk about this a bit later, but it is something to be mindful of that some of these links and interoperability are going to assume you've got a license for both, and that's not always the case. And now that I've teased you with that, let's talk about some of the limitations I find with these two apps available from Atlassian. So I've listed the top four. There's probably a few others, but these are the ones that I think tend to disappoint customers the most. And the first being, it's 100% manual, right? So as you just saw, you've got to manually click and add the details you want to go to status page. So even when you're going through and working your incident, you've got to go back and update the status page incident status. There is no automation there. So it does help that it's on the same page, but I do see customers using this that do forget to update that, and it's led to some customer and user confusion. So that's one limitation to be aware of. Now, the second one I want to talk about is the no access control. And this one here is probably one of my biggest concerns. When I add that status page widget to my JSM incident screen, everybody in my project sees it. Now, for my customers that have 10 agents in a project, not a big deal. But my larger customers that have over 50 to 100 in a single project doing incident response, for external facing customers, this is usually a non-starter. They don't want to give every agent the ability to post the status page. And right now, there's no way to restrict that. So keep that in mind as a possible limitation for you, is that no access control for that application. Another one here that's kind of worth mentioning is the no maintenance schedules. So while the Help Center application will display things created in status page for the maintenance notifications, the integration from status page that I showed you on the right-hand side of the screen doesn't build or doesn't provide support for maintenance schedules. So you won't be able to add maintenance announcements or notifications through that app. You've got to go directly into status page to add that. And I find most customers put more maintenance notifications in status page for critical services than they do actually incidents. So that's probably one to be mindful of as you're going forward with this walking phase of your status page JSM integration. And then loss of focus. This one here is probably minor in my point, but that view all issues, the fact that it redirects to a website for status page, so the admin side, you kind of lose focus on what you're doing. That could be a problem. But the other problem can be, I've never seen a scenario where every JSM licensed agent has a status page license. There's just not enough status page licenses to go around for most customers. So that could be a problem if you decide to want to look at all the previous updates. So keep that in mind as you're going through and evaluating this. But all in all, I think it's a great step as you're progressing from crawling to walking. With maybe an hour of configuration work, you can get this basic integration done, and then maybe an hour of training for your agents, you're up and running and really improving your experience with JSM and status page working together. Now let's get to where I hope all of you want to get to eventually, and that's going to be running. So once you've mastered the art of walking, it's time to start to run. So at this level, the focus should be on seamless integration between status page and Jira Service Management. Status page incidents, incident postmortems, and maintenance announcements should be created automatically without manual agent intervention. As issues progress through their life cycle, certain parameters like issue statuses, services, even the status messages themselves can be extracted and passed over to status page, the incident record and status page. Now, this is all possible by leveraging Atlassian automation rules and the status page REST API. Now, another great area of focus for those that are interested in progressing to the running category is extending component status, maintenance announcements, and incidents beyond that status page and user interface and into applications themselves where possible. So rather than training your end users to swivel chair themselves into applications like Status Page or JSM Help Center, it's a good idea to put the status page information directly in the application itself where possible. So let's take a look at what this can look like. So here's an example of a web page. I've embedded the status notification on here for the billing service. I've got that operational status, and here we're pulling from status page to show the next scheduled maintenance routine, where customers can go and see all the updates there and all the required information. So again, I didn't go to status page for that. I just linked to it right from that screen. So it's a great way to really go from walking to running, is to make the experience better for not just the agents, but for the end users as well. Now, thinking about the agents, they're going to work the way they've always worked. Here's an example of that change record I've got in my system where I'm going through and logging a change as per usual. I fill out all the required fields, all the things I would usually do, and the integration handles the rest. When it hits a certain status, I've triggered it to go ahead and pass certain variables over to status page and create that maintenance announcement and linked it right to the change record. So again, this is what a seamless integration would look like, using the details in JSM to link right to status page. And that's an example of that maintenance announcement. And there's the linkage to that status page ID. Now let's look at how I log an incident, work an incident, and send it over to status page. So again, just like before, we've got that incident record in JSM. We've got our incidents properly set up and configured with all the details we would need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and trigger this by going through my major incident management investigation phase. So you can trigger off of pretty much anything in JSM. This is how I kick off my automation rules to fire and handle all the integration work, but give it a second to refresh. We'll do a separate refresh here in just a moment. That should give the automation rules time to run. Notice how we now see a status page incident ID. So I know that that has been created. And if I scroll down a bit, I should even see the web link there for the status page incident, so I can always get to that from the agent panel. So again, that's all seamless. Based on actions I'm taking in the incident, things are going to happen in the back end. And if I refresh that page, notice I can see that major incident or major outage, and I can view incident details. So again, very quick, easy to do. Atlassian can provide some tools through status page to put a basic one on your screen, or you can do what I did with some JavaScript and HTML to make it a little prettier. So lots of options there. Now, as we go through as an agent, we work our incident. I can go and work as I normally would. I'll go through my statuses. I'll make updates. I'll add comments. The things you normally do resolving an incident, I'll go through and just do a few things here to show you what it looks like on the status page side. I've walked through a few statuses, and I've completed this, resolved this incident. My team did a great job. Yay, services restored. But notice this in status page, all those things were captured. And I've got values that actually sync with for my system to pass over there. So I didn't have agents manually typing values here. Of course, I can give overrides here if I would like to, but for now, I think the base package works best when I just have it be all automated. So if you're wondering how to do it, automation rules along with the status page REST API. Now, I have JSM Premium, so I utilize assets to store some of these values for me. I extract those values when I need them. Here we can actually see the billing system values for all these different statuses we've logged. I can go through and extract these at any time based on criteria within that incident record. This really is a great way to handle it so agents aren't manually typing it. It's all going to be in the voice of the company this way. Here's other things I'm mapping, things like the incident status to the status page incident status. Since those aren't like for like, I've had to do some mapping here. And again, mapping is pretty straightforward, along with the priority of the issue to the status page incident priority as well. Again, I'm doing it in assets here. There's other ways I could do it for customers that are not on premium, but this is probably the easiest and best way to do it. And then when it's resolved, notice how my component status goes back to operational. So that really is what it looks like when you graduated from a walking to a running as it comes to integration with status page. So now at this point, you might be wanting to approach a tighter integration yourself. So Let me give you some good ideas here to get started. So when building a tighter integration between Jira Service Management and Status Page, you'll want to discuss internally what will be in scope for your integration. Three common areas for integrations are incidents, the incident postmortems, which is the PRs in JSM, maintenance schedules, which should be driven by your change management issues in JSM. Now, for incidents, consider pulling directly from JSM's incident record to populate the status page incident. For example, incident summary maps perfectly to the incident name and status page. You can dynamically populate other status page incident details. Consider leveraging assets for lookup tables if you can, but if not, you can look at other avenues to store values directly in the automation rule or through some other medium. Lots of options there. The second one after incidents look at is postmortems. If you're wanting to go and communicate what was actually done through a postmortem, that's something you might want to look at doing is synchronizing your PRs and JSM to your incident records. Great idea. I only have a handful of customers doing that at this time, but it's something you might want to consider yourself. Very straightforward and easy to map that as well. And then probably my favorite is the maintenance. Being able to constantly keep your users updated of when the system's going to be up and down. Consider pulling directly from the JSM change record to populate your status page maintenance schedules. Standard and normal changes should already contain a planning start and planning end date and time field, which can be used to populate that start and end time of status page. You'll have to do a translation from your time zone to GMT or Zulu time. But other than that, it's a pretty straightforward process. Just be sure to map your component with whatever service you're updating and any different messages you'll want to do that as well. Now that you've seen what is possible when you progress from walking to running, I hope you're excited to build your own tight integration between Statuspage and JSM. However, I realize not everybody will be able to progress the level alone. Maybe you have developers, but they have a years-long backlog working on your critical applications, or maybe you're a team of one running in the Atlassian cloud environment and you don't have the skills to build this yourself. Hey, don't worry. We're here to help. We created a package that we refer to as the Status Page Action Pack that will take you from crawling or walking right to the running in a ready-to-deploy package that can be ready in about a day and a half for most customers. We're going to work with you to identify where to find the required data and make all the necessary adjustments while deploying this package for you. In some cases, we needed to make some modifications to the package. For example, I've got one customer using JSM standard licenses that didn't have assets, so I had to find a way around that. That's not a problem at all. I've already got a blueprint to leverage another mapping source outside of assets. So that's not going to be a problem at all. Now, I've got another customer that's doing change management work in a Jira software projects. Yeah, no worries there either. We've got a blueprint for that scenario too. Different ways of working is something we've accounted for when designing the action packs, and we're happy to work with you to ensure your integration of Status Page is fit for purpose. So now that we've seen what our team has done, I'd like to take a moment to tell you a little bit about Adroit ESM Solutions and some of the other exciting things we're working on. We're a relatively new silver solutions partner in the Atlassian ecosystem, founded by a former Atlassian. We're 100% focused on helping Atlassian customers realize their ITSM, ESM, and DevOps goals on the Atlassian cloud platform. We help customers achieve this goal through our consultancy and advisory services for Jira Service Management, Jira Software, Confluence, Opsgenie, both standalone and the new merge features in JSM, as well as Statuspage. It is truly our pleasure to be working alongside our customers on the Atlassian cloud platform. So with that, thank you all for attending our Statuspage JSM integration session. And remember, if you or someone you love is affected by bad service management, feel free to contact us directly via our sales@adroitesmsolutions.com email address or submit an inquiry through the website. It really was great taking the time to present for you all today. Again, my name is Kevin Patterson. Look forward to working with you all sometime in the future.